Light work. Yo, this is a big moment, Heather B.
Talk to me.
This is a big moment, man. We were talking about Afrofuturism earlier, and I said this man is the very manifestation of what it is. He personifies what that means in general just by the work he's done as a humanitarian, the work he's done in his craft. This man has no limitations. There are no ceilings to what he can do. His last name in itself possesses power. His knowledge of self is illuminating. I've sat and talked with this man on many different levels, and I decided he's not human, ladies and gentlemen. He's not from one particular place. He's from everywhere. He's omnipresent. I don't care where you discovered him. It does not matter where you discovered him, whether it was Pacific Rim, Beast of a Nation, Molly's Game. It doesn't matter if it was in the Jungle Book. None of those films, none of those properties define who he is. He defines who they are. His movies done grossed 10 billion around the world. One of the most influential people that stepped on this planet. Give it up for my good friend, the one and only Concrete Cowboy himself, Idris Elba, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. Wow. Good morning.
Come on, Idris. That's light work. Come on, man.
Good morning, man. What's happening?
Man, first of all, what part of the world are you in?
I'm in the UK, man. I'm in the UK. I've literally been home for about 10 days. I've been in Australia for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I just got home, man. I'm just, readjusting to my bed. You know that.
Yeah, man, I know that bed feels amazing. Hey, before we get into everything, I remember when the pandemic started and you and your family talked about having COVID, and it was new to people. They were like, "What's going on, man? Why is Idris Elba talking about COVID?" And folks said all kind of craziness. We're going to dismiss the craziness now. We don't even have to respond to that craziness. That had no merit. How you been since? How's your health? How's your family?
Oh, thank you for asking, man. I feel blessed every day to be alive, And we could talk about the crazy. It's not even crazy. I think people were scared, didn't know what was happening. The reaction towards me and my wife was, hostile and encouraging. But it's okay. I understand that because, it was so new. And then look what happened next. What happened next was scary and devastating and continues to be. And I feel blessed to just be alive. I'm here with you and Heather, and I'm just appreciative,
Absolutely. You had to go ahead and say what up to Idris.
I know, Idris, and I feel so bad because, first of all, thank you so much for calling into the show and hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. And I know that you are way across the pond, as they say right now, but I'm curious because Sway was like, yo, Idris going to come up. He going to DJ. We going to chill out. Like, if you, I should say this, when you have the opportunity to come to the show and DJ, like, what are you listening to, bruh? Like, what you rocking to right now? You listening to that Lemon Pepper Wings freestyle? You listen to what are you listening to right now?
No, listen, really and truly right now, I ain't listening to shit, if you don't mind. I'm actually, you know what I mean? I'm actually enjoying some peace and quiet. But normally, man, I'm a house head. I make a lot of house. I play a lot of house when I DJ. So I'm in that space. That music just gets me going. But at the same time, man, the music's crazy at the moment. There's so many good artists coming out. And lots of new music. I'm glad to see my guy. See, now I'm gonna just forget everyone's names. I'm glad to see Silk Sonic come together. First of all,
yes.
I don't know if you lot bumping that.
And Anderson .Paak, yeah.
And Anderson and Bruno. That record, that had my son who's 6. He's 6. He's talking about, I'm going to leave the door open. I was like, okay, bud. You might just be.
He's 6. Yo, Idris and I have so many moments one moment, I don't know if you remember this. We went to, I feel like you, me, Angie Martinez, and a few others were hanging out one night in New York. Yo, Heather, remember the famous Derek Jeter 40th, I think it was, birthday party?
Yeah.
That me and Horse went to. You know, I feel like one
I
time
remember
we you remember that Idris, we all went to that same party. and, and LL Cool J was there, and all these different folk. Michael Strahan was there, and we had a really good time. And Idris was bragging about what's your DJ name? Big Drees.
Well, you know, I had to let go of the big part. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, DJ Drees. Okay, and you was just on me like, yo, Sway, I want to come up. I want to rock your show. And I'm looking at you like, okay, Sway, I want to rock your show. I'm like, okay. And it never happened, right? So we saw each other in London, I want to say, after the European Music Awards. And we were partying that night. Yeah, we were partying that night, too. And you were real slim and lean. And you were telling me about the doc that you did, the fighter doc that you did, where you were learning more about kickboxing and MMA. And you were going to go into your first. Y'all were still working on that. I actually saw it on a plane and said, wow, gosh, I saw it. Like, right at, I saw it on the plane, and this has nothing to do with what we're here to talk about. But man, what was the purpose of going through that process for you? Learning how to.
You know what? If I'm really honest, man, I'm gonna tell you that it probably was some version of a midlife crisis. I ain't gonna lie. I just be real. I was going through this time where when your body don't move like it used to, and you're kind of like, wait, I got back issues. I'm like, huh? I just wanted to put myself through the ultimate test. I've always been a fighter. I've always, been in the gym, boxing or kickboxing, and I never took it to that pro level. I'm not crazy, you know what I mean? I just like I'm over here making money on my face. So, but I don't know. I was like 43 years old, gone through some life stuff, and just needed to step away from acting for a little bit just to readdress myself. And there's nothing better than to look at yourself through the eyes of fear. You know what I mean? Like really, that's when you really get to understand what you're made of, when you're sort of looking at something that scares you. And stepping in the ring was definitely something I feared, even though I love the sport and I love the fitness of it all, mentally and physically. So I did that, man, and it was the most life-changing thing for me, because it really just made me reevaluate what I can do and what I can't do. It made me appreciate my body and, look after myself a little bit better. And I won the fight, man. I kicked that dude's ass. I don't care what anyone has to say. I won that bad boy.
You won that fight, man. Okay, man, that made sense. Because after I watched it, I was like, I thought it was incredible. I wonder what he walked away from it with. And so that explains you faced the fear, and now you got that out your system. And I started watching Concrete Cowboy. I'm a fast forward. I thought it was an amazing film. Shout out to the Fletcher Street Stables, North Philly, stand up. I'm gonna tell you something, Idris. My grandfather, Clyde Waters, grew up, came up. He was raised in the South in Louisiana. He was a young man when he had to kind of take over the property and assume the role of an older man. So at a young age, he was, tending to the fields, and he was a horse rider. He was a cowboy. And when they migrated to the West Coast, into the Oakland Bay Area, and I grew up in Oakland, he took me at a young age. I didn't understand why. Didn't tell me where he was going to take me. He took me to a place called Oakland City Stables. It's in the mountains of Oakland, and it was a stable. And he made me get on a horse, bro, and it was a huge horse. And I don't know, when I look at the story of Caleb and his dad, of you and Caleb and the characters that y'all play in this, it reminded me of, why is my grandfather making me ride this horse? And I was impressed that he jumped on it and was just, he was swinging that horse, a huge horse. He was swinging the horse. I jumped on it, and the horse, I initially got knocked off. At one point, the horse stopped in a puddle. It was about to spin on me. It was about to turn on me, and I had to do whatever I could to keep it, prevent it from turning. And I walked away after that with some valuable lessons. I also learned the history of us in riding horses. My daughter grew up, and she went to Grandview Farms in L.A., and she was taught by a woman by the name of Karen Perlow, and she became an equestrian, and she started competing at a young age, winning ribbons in the whole nine. And we learned even more about our history. What was it that appealed to you about doing this film, and what about our history? Because I know even in Africa, the Fulani people, West Africans, are known as herders, and it goes deep rooted that people don't think that our people are cowboys. What was it about this that appealed to you, and what have you learned, or what can you teach us?
Man, look, it's a beautiful story, by the way, about your grandfather and your experience, because when I read this thing, first of all, I'm allergic to horses, right? So I'm like, okay, this isn't for me, but this is something that I would love to see come alive, because it was a story about a community, all right? At the heart of it is a community. At the heart of it, there's the father-son story, and then there are these beautiful animals called horses and their place in that community. That's what the story's about. And it's, I come from East London. I'm born and raised in Hackney. We didn't have horses, all right? We had, what the equivalent to projects, what we call council estates. What we had was urban farms, though. And those little urban farms were the chance to see these animals in your own environment, man. And what I could tell immediately is that there was a common truth between Fletcher Street stables and where I'm from in East London. There was a common truth. It was the fact that my community and I, you know what I mean, we needed each other, we relied on each other, our neighborhoods, even whatever the beefs were within the neighborhoods, it was part of our community. And to have these urban farms with pigs and chickens and goats and that, for the kids, it was kind of like, wow, there's something else out there. There's something else out there outside of the concrete jungle that we were living in. And that to me was the common truth. Outside of the fact that I'm a father, and I'm dedicated, and we're adults, right? So we've all been through some shit. I've been through some shit with my kids, and I just know that story really touched me. It resonated with me in terms of fatherhood and what it means to be a father, and also what it means to be a man of your community, which I consider myself. So I just knew that an audience would find a common truth, no matter where you came from. But also, in the journey of being in this film, Concrete Cowboy taught me about Philadelphia, but it also taught me about Delaware and New York and all these other urban cities that had black folk in them. And when you trace back the history, horses were always part of our community. It was utilitarian. Horses were being used to plow land. Horses were being used to deliver on horse and cart. Horses were a part of the fabric, especially when, you had the industrial revolution and black folk couldn't afford to move with the times in terms of, cars and, delivery vans and automated, farming equipment. We still used horses. And so it really taught me that this history of Philadelphia isn't just about Philadelphia. Actually, there's a common truth for other cities when you really look back into the history. So I really felt to myself, listen, this is a story that the director, Ricky Straub, who's a kid that lived in Philadelphia about three or 4 years, and he observed and lived with the community, he said he needed to tell this story. And he came to me, him and Lee Daniels, and like, look, man, would you like to produce? Would you like to be in this? I was like, look, man, I'm allergic to horses, but I will definitely produce it. And then eventually, man, I found myself, in Philadelphia on the back of a horse. And the first time I got on the horse, apart from sneezing and sobbing, and I didn't look cool at all, I definitely felt appreciation for this animal. The first thing I learned is that an animal don't let you get on its back unless it feels you, unless it understands you. And this horse, is a film-trained horse, got me on this back. And, I'm thinking I just want to show everyone I'm good. I nearly fell off a few times. I smacked my nuts about 18 times. I was like, oh, this is really bad for me.
Wow.
But the horse was like, okay, bro, I got you, relax. And the horse showed me how to ride that horse, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a real beautiful experience for me, man, making that film in its entirety.
We actually, it's a even the story of gentrification you see that's happening in Philadelphia. I don't want to tell the story if folks haven't seen it. You should definitely watch it, but it's also metaphoric in many ways of what we see happening in our community. I actually have someone from Philly, a citizen of the show that just called in named Sharif. Sharif, how you doing?
What's up?
Good morning. How are
Morning,
y'all?
Sharif.
Grand Rising, Sharif.
I'm so happy to get through because I actually got disconnected when I first called. But, yeah, I'm Sharif from Philly. I'm currently in Baton Rouge. I'm a film student at Dillard. But Mr. Idris, thank you guys for putting this story out there because when I grew up in Philly and I used to always wonder, why do we have horses walking through North Philly? You know, you see a bus and then you see a horse and it's it was so confusing. And I never thought to research it. You know, it was just all right, I'm just going to go about my day. And now being down here in Louisiana and going to Dillard, I'm learning about how much horses and cowboys is a part of our history. I attended a black trail ride in Lake Charles a couple semesters ago, and I learned so much. So for you guys to put this movie together, it's so phenomenal and it's so real and it's so raw. And all of the Philly people that I still have as friends, we're like, oh my goodness, our minds are blown. You guys did an amazing job. That's coming from a fan. That's coming from a film. But thank you. That's really all I can really say right now. Thank you. Oh, and my stepdaughter's in the question. So there you go. Thank you guys for telling the story.
It's amazing.
That's amazing.
That means a lot to me coming from
someone like you.
Well, that's amazing, Cherie. How you feel about that when you hear that? And when people respond to your work like that?
Oh, man, it touches my heart, man. It touches my heart, especially a fellow filmmaker, you know. I hope Cherie, takes the idea of telling common truths, telling real stories, even, you know, however obscure or strange they may be, you know, we need to tell these stories, man. We need to tell these stories, you know. And, you know, especially, look, Philadelphia is known for a few things, musicians. It's known for crime, obviously. It's known for, you know, its gentrification, or people are learning about that. And it's also known for having, quite a mixed community, right? And it's known for Allen Iverson, of course. Mm-hmm. But, you know, from my perspective, this story, nobody knows that. Fletcher Street's been there for, I want to say, a good part of a century, and that's a long time where, you know, those riders have been bringing young kids and putting them on horses and say, all right, this you now, you need to look after this horse, and you know, and the same similar story to you and your granddad, you know, Sway. It's they've been doing this for a long time, and they can literally show you how it's affected the community. Their stories, the riders' stories themselves, you know, they say, listen, man, if it wasn't for this horse, I'd be gangbanging somewhere. I'd be doing something else. You know what I mean? I'd probably be in jail. And they'll tell you that story open-hearted. And I'm telling you, man, it's so moving. You know, just to sit. That's what we did all day. You know, it wasn't like a film set. It was like a documentary. And we sat all day, told each other stories. They yawned on me all day because of how my riding skills was, but that's cool. I got them back. And we just had a good time telling each other our truths. So I learned a lot, you know. I didn't realize this, but, you know, even the word cowboy, and maybe this is, you know, a lot of people understand it, but, you know, when, you know, black folk were working on white-owned farms, you know, the cow hands, the guys go out there and handle that cow. But when it was the black guys, they called them cowboys. They just called them boy, and you're a cowboy, not a cow hand. And so even the term cowboy, you know, sitting there hearing this story from one of the older generations, he said, yeah, man, that's how they used to do us. And the term stuck, but you didn't see any black cowboys in movies, ever. And it really was like, wow, that's so true. They called us cowboys, which is derogatory, but then took the term and made $1 million from it in cowboy movies. So it's crazy.
Damn, that's game right there, man. That Idris Elba said, I didn't know that story either. Concrete Cowboy streaming on Netflix right now. Mike Muse, you want to jump in on this? Mike Muse is here. Mike Muse usually do the political news, but I told him you was coming, so Mike Muse is here. Mike Muse.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, everyone? Idris, I just wanted to say really quickly, just thank you so much. I actually did a story for the Mike Muse Show on the Cowboys that are in Compton, the Compton Cowboys, and talked about the impact that they have on the city of Compton and what it means for the community. But just really quickly, I just want to say that to the last point that you just raised, Idris, and what the caller Sharice mentioned, there is erasure in our history that is always a constant. And there is this constant erasure that Black folks, in response to whether it's country music, whether it's farming, whether it's rural political identity, whether it's city, that Black people have always been erased from that. And so, Idris, I salute you for being a producer and being willing to take on this narrative to put Black people back in the history books and back into the story. The way films will have it as if we had nothing to do with this culture and genre, when we've always been a culture and we've always been the genre, but we've been erased for that. So thank you so much for what you do, man, and for bringing that to the forefront.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Appreciate saying that. Thank you.
DB's our movie junkie, man. I know he on edge to ask you a question. We trying to throw everything in a quick interview to set up for when you come to the studio and you can hang out and we could join on you too. All right.
I'm coming to the studio. I'm DJing my phone and I freestyle as well, man. I'm just gonna tell you now.
I already know you gotta all that boasting you was talking. We gonna put it to the test. We'll see. Hey, DB, you got a question?
Yeah, really quickly, Idris. I have to shout out Greg Charles from Caroline's because he was the one who let me know that you started one of your earlier jobs before your acting career took off, working the door at Caroline's right by where Sirius is. And I know there's a lot of people who are facing a lot of hardship right now that are aspiring actors because they can't do these face-to-face auditions. They can't really excel in their career the way they used to. So what would you say to people right now, because you worked a lot of odd ends and low-level jobs to get to where you are? What kind of advice or encouragement can you give to those actors out there who are just kind of stuck right now with everything going on?
Man, well, first of all, Greg Charles, I haven't heard that name in 30 years, so shout out to Caroline's Comedy Club. Look, I'll answer that question by telling you a story. You know what I mean? I left the UK in sort of like early 90s, and I had like saved up a bit of money. I was working as an actor. I saved up a bit of money, and I came to New York. My wife at the time, I was young, I was 25 years old. And I didn't work as an actor for about 3 to 4 years straight up. I didn't have, my savings got depleted real quick. And I found myself in a situation where it was either I give up on my dreams or I go home. Give up on my dreams and just fly back to England, right? And it, the hard truth is that, it's a hard pill to swallow when you know you got the chops, you know you can do it, you're right there, you're knocking on the door, but you can't get in. And then you have to go and do something else that is off your skill set that just to make some ends meet. That little cusp right there is the difference between those who make it and those who don't. And that's the bottom line. I would not have the career I have if I packed up my stuff and went back to England. I wouldn't. And so I just got stuck in, man. I worked a few jobs, man. And, D.L. Hughley would tell you, Dave Chappelle would tell you, all those guys, I was working the door and all those guys were doing the circuit. I used to hustle. I had to hustle. There was no getting about it. It was either I hustle or I go home. And so I worked Caroline's. I've told people I used to dish out the weed bags here and there. I used to DJ. I had all sorts of sort of gigs that would just get me a little bit of money so that I could keep my dreams alive. It's demoralizing, but at the same time, it was character building for me. Like in that time period, I became the actor I was, going to be because I was practicing. I had my eyes on the prize. Even though I was doing these other jobs, I was practicing. So I would say to anyone that's out there that's listening right now and you're like, damn, I don't know what to do. I might have to go and get another job. I might have to do something else. I don't really want to do that. Do it. Get your money up, get your confidence back, and get your focus right. Because what happens is when you're sitting still, just thinking, I'm going to give up, you just, you're not sharp. You're not as sharp. You're not focused. You're not hungry. When you go out there and do a job that is off what you want to do, it helps you just be focused. Be good at something. It's like if you can't get into the gym, right? And, you need to pick up something heavy in your house to just work out. Bottom line. Otherwise, you lose your muscle. So it's that kind of mentality. And I really feel that people, we're so used to the idea of, giving up, because everything's so fast now. We want everything so quickly. And, so when you don't get it quickly, you lose your attention span. You just, give up. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, stay at it. It's a long game. Anyone that's good that's ever done it, Sway's been doing this for a long time, right, Sway? And you know that even when you're on the top, you still have to work hard and you still have to focus and you still have to do other things that are outside your skill set. I do. That's why I got 19 jobs right now, but I still do it because it keeps me sharp, keeps me focused.
Keeps you hungry, too. DB, great question. And I'm going to end the interview because I know you got to go. You got a lot of work to do. Kate from Ohio actually watched the movie with her mom last week, and she wanted to comment on it. Kate, Grand Risings, how you doing?
I'm good. I wanted to say that when I found out that Idris got COVID, I prayed for him and his family. My mom is severely compromised with severe COPD, so she's been on lockdown in her apartment for over a year. I do her groceries and laundry. I'm on my way to take care of her now, but something we do enjoy together is watching especially British movies. We love Idris. We watched the movie together last week, and she was talking to me about how they never mention black cowboys, and I said, no, they don't mention black a lot of things that black people have done in every aspect except for high power positions, because that's just the way our world is. It's completely skewed. But and I love that he mentioned Dave Chappelle, because I struggle with depression, which COVID has made worse, and I watch Dave Chappelle on Netflix to help me get my spirits up. So the fact that he mentioned that just blew my mind. But Concrete Cowboy, it really is just it's huge in the fact that not only is it the father and son story, but it also shines a light on the fact that it's just one area of American culture and world culture that is not expressed, because representation matters, and representation has not been happening for 400 plus years. So I'm glad that Idris and so many other intelligent, extremely talented actors, directors, producers are working to push these stories through, because it matters. I'm white. I recognize my privilege. I did grow up for many years as my brother and I, the only white kids in a school. So that was a switch up, but I do recognize my privilege. I'm so happy to see these stories finally starting to come out. And all we can do is change one mind at a time. And some people are goners. You're never going to change their mind. But if we can change one mind at a time, then we can make things better. And I'm so grateful for people like you, people like Idris, people who are working hard to get these stories out there, because they're vital for the future of the world, not just this country, but the world.
Wow. That's real talk there, Kate. Thank you so much. And listen, shout out to your mom. I hope she recovers and you're doing good by her right now. So, appreciate you for that too. But thank you for saying that. That means a lot, when, people recognize that these stories are seeds that allow the truth to grow. You know what I mean? They allow the truth to grow. They allow the history to regrow, and to be recognized, as a filmmaker with an audience member like that is very meaningful. So I appreciate you for that.
Hey, Kate, and you could play this back for your mom. You should let her hear Idris. Wish her well. So will you go use our on-demand function, SiriusXM.com/on-demand, and let her hear Idris reference her, Kate. And thank you for your call, okay? You're a citizen, Kate. You're a citizen. All right.
Yes, I've been voting Democratic and pushing for more representation. I did not protest because I was protecting my mom, but I prayed a lot. And every time that my husband and I actually had an argument last night about rioting and whatever, and I said, you know what? If a cop hadn't killed a black man, there wouldn't have been a riot. So I'm sorry, but I don't think destruction of property is worse than taking a life. So I fight in my own little ways every single day to try to change minds, even if it's the ones that I live with. But my mom and I have always, in fact, my first crush was on a black boy. My mom said, that'll be a hard life. And I looked at her and I said, that's okay. Hard is all right as long as you make it. So thank you for putting it out there.
Okay, Kate. Thank you for having a free mind. All right. You keep up the fight, Kate. You're a citizen of Sway in the morning. Hey, Idris, thank you for calling in, brother. I can't wait to see you in person, in the flesh. Send my love and regard to your family, brother.
I appreciate you, man. Sway, I really appreciate you and Heather and the team for having me on and shining a light. Before I go real quick, man, just to shed this little quick, the Fletcher Street stables are being moved on. Gentrification has definitely taken its toll, and those very stables where we shot are going to get knocked down. So we've put together a GoFundMe. If anyone feels like throwing a couple dollars for the relocation of those stables, there's a GoFundMe raising dollars for the permanent stable. It's the Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy GoFundMe. Do what you can or do nothing, but just, spread the word because, we would love to see these stables and this history not get eroded from this point on. You know what I mean?
Okay, the Philadelphia Riding, what is it? What's the GoFundMe again?
Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy. And the GoFundMe is raising dollars for a permanent stable.
Raising dollars for a permanent stable. Okay. Man, absolutely. Our citizens will definitely respond. Shout out to Method Man, too, man. Method killed his role.
Yeah, he killed it. He absolutely killed it. He's such a nice guy. He's a good actor, humble. You know what I mean?
He did great, man. Did y'all get in the studio?
Well, actually, we did. Yeah, we did this little freestyle that we haven't released. We might put it out there, man. It's a little back and forth. Listen, you don't go up to Meth account and say, "Can I make a record?" But he actually was like, "Yo, I heard you do a little something, something." I was like, "Okay." So then we was on set, and Meth. I don't know if you've been around Meth, right?
Yeah, that's
he can freestyle for days. So he started yawning on everyone off the top of the head. So I had to battle him. I had to. I lost that battle, but I had to do it.
Wow. So Idris Elba battled Method Man in a freestyle competition. Am I hearing this correctly?
I listen. It was improvisation. You know what I mean? I wasn't bringing the bars as much as I was bringing the character, but he was just bringing the bars and burying all of us. But it's whatever.
Hey, man, that's the heart of an MC. We got a hyena right here. We got a hyena, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, can't wait to get you in the studio, Idris. Hey, bless you, brother. We'll talk soon, okay?
Yes, man. Love, man.
Love. Most love, man. Idris Elba, man. Come on, man. Y'all give him a round of applause.